One expert who specialises in the effects of the virtual world is neuroscientist Professor Susan Greenfield. What are your concerns about people's excessive use of social media?
What I do have great problems with is the impact when they're used to the exclusion or as a substitute for real life and real life relationships. For young people especially, if you're not rehearsing, giving someone a hug, smiling at someone, looking someone in the eye, interpreting body language, interpreting voice tone, of course you're not going to be good at it. And my fear is if you're not then good at it, you will prefer to text rather than speak to someone.
In fact, the internet's recently been dubbed electronic cocaine because, like the drug, the habit of constantly checking your emails and social media is a habit that's very hard to break. How important do you think this issue is of using social media and the internet too much?
I think it's as global and as long-reaching and as important to every aspect of our lives as is climate change.
Cell phones are great for quick information retrieval, but not having fast mobile access to info can cause problems. Half of all cell owners, 51%, had used their phone at least once to get information they needed right away. One quarter, 27%, said that they experienced a situation in the previous month in which they had trouble doing something because they did not have their phone at hand.
Katie and her husband Stuart are both 26 years old and new parents to baby Willow. The internet, on the other hand, is just 21 years old, and this couple have been submerged in it for vast chunks of their adult lives. What percentage of your waking day is spent online?
I would say 98%, because even if I'm doing something else, the laptop is there and I'm doing something on it or occupied, but my phone is always on me. I'm looking at it constantly. I'm never without it, and if I am, you have that mini heart attack where you're like, where is it? You know, even though if I haven't left the house, I'll still think I've left it on a bus.
Has it caused problems with your relationship?
Not problems, we bicker over it. Sometimes he'll just sigh and roll his eyes, and I know exactly what it is. It's because I have just constantly been on my phone and ignored him for half an hour.
The phone is the other man.
Yes, that's right.
Do you get jealous?
Yes, I think I do, yeah.
Katie admits to being a social networking addict, online for up to 12 hours a day. While Stuart is a keen online gamer. We asked them both to take an internationally recognised internet addiction test to see just how connected they really are.
How often do others in your life complain to you about the amount of time you spend online? Often.
How often do you find yourself saying just a few more minutes when online? Quite often.
How often do you lose sleep due to late night logins? Often. It's usually on my phone while I'm laid in bed.
The test assesses your relationship with the internet and is scored out of 100. Interestingly, you, Stuart, scored 31.
Hey, look at that.
You are an average user. You may surf a bit too long at times, but you have control over your usage.
Okay.
You, on the other hand, Katie, scored 52. You experience occasional or frequent problems because of the internet, and you should consider the full impact on your life.
Halfway to crazy.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I would say that was pretty accurate. I was thinking it would be higher, actually, but maybe I wasn't quite honest with myself.
Katie is honest enough to admit that she perhaps pays more attention to the net than she does Stuart, and that their communication has suffered as a result. So could living without their gadgets improve things? We decided to pull the plug on their digital world to find out. Right, the experiment is about to start. I want you to go upstairs and around the house and get all your technological gadgets, bring them here, and we're going to lock them away. Off we go. Ready? It's a digital detox. No virtual worlds, texts, tweets or updates. Laptops, mobile phones, games consoles and the internet are all banned. Right, all of your gadgets are now in those boxes, and the rules are that you can't use any of them for the next 48 hours. And if you have to communicate with someone because of an emergency, you can use something called a landline, which is gathering dust in your front room there. And we're going to lock everything away now.
Right.
Okay. It's going to be an interesting weekend, especially for Katie, who gets itchy if she's offline for minutes, let alone hours. We'll catch up with them later in the programme.
So how do you feel about it?
I may kill you.
Like any addiction, internet addiction has various effects on an individual. The addict becomes dependent on the internet, loses control of self to the internet, and discontinuing the use of internet leads to disturbances in mood and behavior.
Okay, so these are scans, brain scans, human brain scans, in a very interesting study that was recently published from China that involved two groups of 19-year-old subjects, and the group that they called as having internet addiction disorder was spending on average 10 hours a day in front of the screen. You can see these red marks here. These are the areas of interest, and I'll say interest rather than concern, where you're seeing a shrinkage in certain brain areas only in the group that were spending 10 hours a day on the internet.
This seems to show that using the net for 10 hours a day seems to shrink certain parts of the brain.
Excessive use of the internet is associated with shrinkage of certain parts of the brain.
The changes were in the parts of the brain that control attention and emotional processing. They were similar to the changes found by research into other addictions, including alcohol and cocaine. The bottom line is you think we need more studies like this?
Totally. Well, as I say, in science, a study like this, which was pioneering and very interesting, is the beginning, not the conclusion. It starts to say, look, there's grounds for further investigation, surely.
In a recent Vodafone survey, 54% of the responders said it was okay to pick up the phone while out to dinner, and 57% said they'd pick it up while going to the bathroom. But the thing that really got to me is that 33% thinks it's okay to pick up their cell phone during sex. That's when I think this whole technology takeover goes from being funny to a bit sad. A 2008 survey found 47% of U.S. teens said their social lives would end or be worsened without their cell phones, according to polling site Harris Interactive. The survey also noted that 6 in 10 teens credit their phones for improving their lives.
In our survey, 1 in 5 said the time they spent online caused friction with their partner. Which brings us back to Katie and Stuart. So they could assess the impact of technology on their relationship, we confiscated their phones, laptops and computer games for the entire weekend.
Katie is starting to get a little bit irritated by not being able to look up things on the internet while she was watching a programme.
I want to understand something a little bit better. If I don't understand something they're saying, I need to look it up, and I won't remember to look it up tomorrow, so...
Is you're sort of at a breaking point?
No, I'm fine. Just stop it.
Okay.
Next morning, the couple reflect on their technology-free evening.
It made me laugh, and every time I left the room you try to look for your phone.
I can't help it. It's like I genuinely can't be alone with my own thoughts or sit quietly for 1 minute while you go to the loo.
With their gadgets still under lock and key, Katie and Stuart have some hours to fill.
I feel a weird mix of both stressed and anxious and yet strangely unburdened. So I feel bored more than anything.
We've actually had a nice proper conversation, which not to say we haven't had for a long while, but you know, it's nice to do, and I think we need to do it more often.
I don't put Stu ahead of the gadgets most of the time. I don't mean to, I don't do it in a harsh way, but he does come second to the internet sometimes, and he's fully aware of that.
It's the final day of the detox. Stuart has spent some quality time with daughter Willow, and Katie has had a morning at a spa. But now it's time for a reunion with their gadgets.
It didn't take long for Katie to get back on her phone. It's not even been 5 minutes of opening the boxes, and
She's already texted someone.
Well, technically, they've been waiting for my reply since like Friday and Saturday, so they're thinking I'm ignorant and they hate me.
Could have waited.
It's a strange feeling. It's like I'm pleased to have it back, but slightly worried at how pleased I am to have it back. You don't care, do you?
I really don't. I got used to not having it.
We are more together when the gadget isn't distracting me, so yeah, I'd like to do more of that. Maybe just more breaks from technology rather than living without it.
Well done, sweetheart. Proud of you.
Love you.
Love you.
Now, 30% of the people who responded to our survey said they felt they should cut down the amount of time they spent online. Now, how do you do that? You can't just undo the digital revolution. But you can, of course, take back some of the control that technology exerts over us simply by reaching for the off button.